In this video, we want to take just a moment to update some information that's based on what's happening this week. And actually this week is the first actual week if you're going to ask for a loan forgiveness in the 24-week period. So what we want to try to do is help solve some of the confusion about, one, when should I apply for the debt forgiveness? And secondly, what does it mean by this loan forgiveness? So for example, here I have a copy of the promissory note modification from the bank we filed our PPP through. So it's referred to as a promissory note modification, or else you would refer to it as the PPP loan extension. So Debbie, just real quick, what do we mean by extension? One, what is it? And then we'll look at why.
Well, at this point, when we just had the 8-week period, those that got their loans at the beginning of all the PPP back at the beginning of April. At this point, you should have already applied to have your loan forgiven and everything would have been done and over with. Or at this point, you would start making payments if your loan didn't get forgiven. Since everything got extended and we added the 24-week period, now we have to actually modify that loan and sign an extension so you don't have to start making payments yet.
So many of you may have already started receiving notices. We've had a couple of clients that has actually this week got notice they're gonna have to start repay.
Right.
So if you get that, first thing is I'd contact the bank, because the other thing we're finding out, we're doing, I don't know, 40 or 50 of these, and each bank is different. And we're gonna go through some of the scenarios of the difference in the requests we're getting from banks. But the most important thing is if you get that notice of the loan payment, contact your bank. And again, you should be getting what I've got here is a promissory note modification. And we'll go through what that means. But I think the most important thing is if you get that notification of repayment, you don't have to do that. Your step is to get a hold of the bank.
Right.
Now, Dave, on some of these banks, because there's such a variety, and they're starting to request, what we're finding most banks are not actually requesting you to submit the loan right now because they've been kind of waiting on Congress to make a decision on under 150,000. At this point in time, we're at the 1st of October. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. But a lot of our clients are saying, hey, I want it over with. And so we're really focusing on the EZ, which we did in another video, but it's the SBA 3508 EZ. It's a very short form, very easy to fill out. But the most important thing here is that we want you to be aware of what your options are. So there's two groups here.
Right.
The one during April and up through May until June 5th, when there was then actually the PPP second version. Prior to that, we had this 8-week period. Right. And then we had so many weeks to file for the debt forgiveness. But on June 5th, they rearranged the rules. And actually in this promissory note modification, it kind of addresses that. We still have the choice in the application of doing the debt forgiveness based on 8 weeks or 24 weeks. But what this does is it gives us time to actually file for the debt forgiveness.
Correct, yeah, because the SBA came out and said that they were going to put that extension out there for everyone to where you didn't have to start making payments now. But the bank, since it's a loan through the bank, they still have to get a modification agreement signed for their end.
And so kind of going into a little more into the weeds and the detail here, the payment term on this document here, that it's live, I signed it, is that I still have the 8 and 24 week selection. But what it does, it's actually going to allow me to have possibly all the way, I'll have 10 months to submit loan documentation for the forgiveness. So this is very important. Again, I'll repeat, and I'm reading here, it says, for example, I would have the 24-week period. Well, I got mine in the first week. So this week is my week technically under the original act to a file for debt forgiveness. Right. But then the second one, they extended that through December 31st. But actually, and when you read this, the loan application period has already passed. But now with this, I actually have possibly all the way to this time next year, to October next year, because I'm going to have a 10-month period. I'm going to have a 10-month period to apply for the forgiveness if I get this modification signed. How did I come up with October? That's not 10 months. But I've got until the end of December, which is 2 more months from now, plus 10 months. So that's why I can get to October of next year. So again, it's to stop any requirement of payment. It also gives me substantial more time for my debt forgiveness. So I think it's a very important document. The purpose of, again, county and recap, it's to get out there and communicate that even though if you read certain documents, watch certain YouTubes, that we've got this deadline this week. So with this extension, we have more time. But many of the banks, as we said earlier, are not requesting these. But you can still go on ahead and apply for the forgiveness. And that's what we're going to do in our next video, is we're going to answer a question that's very confusing, and that is, how do I qualify for that short form, that 3508EZ. We've already done a video on how to fill it out, but in this next video, bottom of the screen, is that we're going to give you not what the document says, but we're going to give you what we've been having interaction with actual bank personnel, because the bank's responsible. They got a fee to make the loan. They got a fee to collect the documentation. So the thing about it is, we're seeing very inconsistent, but we'll give you a real experience. Hope this helps. Want to see in a future video, there's a little bell there you can click if you want follow-up videos. Please hit it there. Thank you and have a great day.